One of our newest sponsors, Adam, is the Waza Flow soccer team. The Waza Flow roster is made up of players from all over the globe that have played collegiately and professionally in the United States and abroad. Countries represented on the Waza Flow roster include Albania, Brazil, Bosnia, Canada, Kenya, Malta, Mexico, Romania, Serbia, the United States, and Yemen. The Waza Flow will be part of the Major Arena Soccer League 2 and will play in the Eastern Division against teams from Cincinnati, Chicago, Muskegon, Denver, and Colorado Springs. So for all information regarding the Waza Flow, go definitely check them out. wazaflow.soccershift.com. That's wazaflow.soccershift.com. Go check them out. The Major Arena Soccer League.
This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
How's the Detroit Sports Podcast going?
Hey, everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Cuz, are we the only ones working today?
I think so. I mean, all the schools are closed. All the businesses are closed. The government shut down. How do you shut the government down?
Since when does cold shut shit down?
Dude.
Get your ass up, put on layers. I mean, in the United States, we have so much clothes, so many opportunities to stay warm. Get your ass up, put on a hat, put on a scarf, and get your ass up and go to work.
I mean, you've seen the way I came into the studio, right? I've got like 3 pair of pants on. I've got, a t-shirt, I got a long sleeve something or another, and then I had a winter jacket with gloves on, and I had a hat stuffed in my coat pocket.
Look, I understand schools, I understand universities that don't want their students walking around and things like that. I get it. But I went to the bank this morning, and my banker said, Citizens Bank, Huntington's closing early, banks are closing, and the United States Post Office is like, we're not going to deliver.
Dude, get this. The radio station closed down yesterday at 10 o'clock for today. Yeah, 10 a.m. yesterday. So if you don't have an essential, and kudos to Paul. Paul's like the big boss. Like, he's totally awesome. So kudos to him for doing it. But like, we all work in an office.
Why?
And we work in an office building. I don't know why you can't show up for work. Like, if your car doesn't start, I get it, right? And if you have car trouble and you're standing on the side of the road, I get that. But like, we all work in an office building. So if you're like non-essential, which means if you're not running a show or you're not doing a show, you don't have to come in today. So like, the entire sales department, off. The entire scheduling department, who schedules breaks and puts stuff in, they're all off. They're all at home. They get to work from home. I mean, technically you're working from home, but they're all off. They don't have to come to the building. So you could have rolled out of bed at like 9:30, had a cup of coffee, decided that you wanted to do some work at maybe 10, and then sit down to start punching away on your keyboard till like 3.
Because there are times when you should be sympathetic, but there are times when social Darwinism needs to come in. Look, if you're stupid enough...
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, if you're stupid enough not to cover up and your ass gets frostbite, fuck you then. That's your problem.
Right.
I mean, look, anybody with a family will have, a situation in place where you tell your kids, look, bundle up. And if they don't do it and their fingers get red and they get chopped off, so be it. Don't be stupid.
Right.
And look...
Then you're called nubs for the rest of your life.
Exactly. You put on a hat... You get in your car and you go to work and you handle your business. I mean, people are texting me early on Wednesday going, "Are you closed?" I'm like, "No, I'm not closed. I'm going to get up and my exposure to the cold was 45 seconds.
Right.
I put from the garage
you
to the
running
car.
to the car, right?
Exactly. What is this? What's this big problem? Is the heating and cooling industry dead?
Well, let me ask you.
There's heat in the world.
Does it really feel like it's as cold as they say it feels?
No,
I've
cold.
I've had cold weather before. When my car broke down, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago? I still don't have my new car. I don't have my car back from the shop yet. I'm driving a loaner, which, hey, thank you, Gowling. Shout outs. Great job on the rental. The freaking Acadia is awesome, guys. Go check that out. Anyways, that Sunday morning when my car broke down, I think it was colder than it's been today, which is crazy because they're predicting that the wind chill is like negative 45 degrees. Like, you go outside, you might just freeze in place. Freeze in place and die because you're going to fall over and shatter. It really doesn't feel that cold to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe my body's getting used to it, all the cold and the frigidness, because it's been a couple of days here where it's been absolutely brutal weather. So I'm not sure. It just doesn't seem that cold to me. Maybe I'm all by myself on this. I don't understand why everything shut down. I get, like you said, I get schools because kids, you got to save the kids, and sometimes they're too dumb to save themselves. So like you said, social Darwinism. I mean, you've got a 4-year-old who just died because decided to take its jacket off outside because it thought it was cool. So yeah, you got to protect the kids. Protect the kids because they're dumb. But as far as adults go, dude, if you're dumb enough to go outside with no coat on, that's your problem.
Yeah, it's 2019. We all should be prepared for this. I mean, it's not like wintertime is something new, and we've had extra month, basically, of decent weather.
Yeah.
So you get a couple weeks of cold, frigid weather. Everybody should have their jackets out, their hats out, and cover up, and let's go. Keep it moving. Keep production.
What are you looking at over there? Your face just keeps lighting up.
No,
you keep smiling.
I love looking at the rundown.
What are you looking at?
I'm just looking at, actually, your email.
Oh, okay.
Your email to me about the rundown. I'm excited. I'm like, the Super Bowl week. We're going to talk about the Pistons, Tom Gores. I'm excited to talk about this week because there's something to talk about in regards to Pistons ownership. What the hell is he doing? His reputation.
I thought you found like an Instagram model or something.
Oh, no, that's off the air, baby.
Oh, okay.
How are your feelings about the Super Bowl coming up this Sunday?
I'm excited for it. This is a matchup I didn't want to see. This is the one matchup I really didn't want to see. I wanted to see the Saints versus the Chiefs. That was the matchup I really wanted to see. If not that, put the young kids out there and give me the Rams versus the Chiefs. Instead, you've got a mix of old and new school, which the longer this goes on and the longer it takes us to approach the Super Bowl, I find myself getting more and more interested. Just because you've got Bill Belichick, who is, at this point, he is the godfather of the National Football League. I mean, the guy's outstanding. And you've got this new school coach in Sean McVay, who does everything different, or at least it seems like he does everything different. Bill Belichick's very gruff, very in your face. Everybody on this team hates me. And then one day a year, you guys will all love me. Sean McVay's totally different. Like, he talks to his players. He communicates with them like me and you communicate, right? Like, just guys, just talking. He doesn't even go by coach. He goes by Sean or whatever nickname they give him, because every guy's got a nickname. You've got a nickname. I've got like 8 of them. Every guy has a nickname. So he goes by that. It's not, hey, coach. It's not Coach McVay. No. It's Sean or it's S-Dog or Mickey V, whatever they call him. And that's how he approaches business. It's all about talking to your players. It's all about being on a certain level with them where you're showing them the proper respect. Whereas Bill Belichick, he shows his players respect, but it starts here and it ends here. And if you don't like that, there's the door. So weird. You've got 2 organizations that do things so totally different, and they're going to meet in this game. It's going to be awesome to watch and to see.
Early on, what do you think are going to be the talking points? I mean, everybody's looking at early on with Sean McVay being a very young head coach. You got Bill Belichick, the experienced veteran. I think you got the situation in which you got the national media and haters that are kind of calling for the demise of the Patriots, sitting back waiting, going, oh, when's it going to end? Now you look and you see the Patriots 3 years in a row in the Super Bowl. For me, I think one of the early things I'm going to look for in this matchup, the Rams and the Patriots, I want to see what Todd Gurley's going to bring to the table. I think that early on, it would behoove the Rams to pound the rock and see what Todd Gurley brings to the table. Really interesting because in his performance in the NFC title game, he sat out. And he was very humble. He was like, look, I didn't bring it. C.J. Anderson and his floppy tummy that everyone's talking about, it was running amok. He was doing his job. And he was a great pickup, a great signing. And you see the scenario in which Todd Gurley can be impactful. But I think early on, if he runs and he's able to help out Jared Goff with some play action situations and you keep the Patriots on their toes, I like the Rams' opportunities to score a lot of points.
Do you see the possibility where you have 2 running backs eclipse 100 yards?
It could happen.
I mean, the way C.J. Anderson is running the ball right now and the positions he's being put in, it's absolutely crazy. And then factor in Todd Gurley. If Todd Gurley comes into this game healthy and his knee's not bothering him, because that seems to be what the issue is, it's his knee. If he comes into this game healthy, he's an every down back. I mean, the guy can do everything. Catch the ball. He can run the ball. He can block. There's no reason to ever take Todd Gurley off the field unless he needs to A, pee, or B, get a drink. That's it. So it's going to be interesting because this could be one of the first times, I think, in Super Bowl history, if I'm correct. I'm not 100% sure. You have two running backs that rush for 100 yards. That's nuts, man.
And I'm also fascinated with how Wade Phillips is going to approach the Patriots. I mean, that
Do you
offense.
think he's the key to all of this?
I do. I think he's a significant player in the Super Bowl. A guy that probably by Friday and Saturday will be talked about a lot more. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that's been around the league, a solid defensive coordinator, and his job basically is going to figure out a way to pressure Tom Brady. Because if you pressure him, and it has been shown in the Super Bowls that the Patriots have lost, if you can go and pressure him and not allow him to be so comfortable, because Tom Brady, what he's going to do is 1, 2, 3, bam, out. And he runs that offense so flawlessly, and it's going to pick up each and every play if he gets into rhythm, 6 yards. And that's what they do. Look, it's not sexy. They're not going to be airing it out all over the place. Unfortunately, once Gordon had his issues, that took that away. It's going to be basically 10 to 15-yard passes max in terms of going to Gronk, Edelman, and it's going to be dink and dunk. And they have a guy that can also run the ball in Sony Michel. So I think it's going to be...
Don't forget James White. James White might be a bigger factor in this Super Bowl than anybody's giving him credit for.
But I think if Wade Phillips can dial up some great blitzes, dial up some pressure, they have to get there. And if they do that and they can get into Tom Brady's head, you're going to have an opportunity maybe to get a couple more offensive possessions, which will help the Rams. I think if you let Tom Brady dictate to you what's going to happen on that field, he will pick you apart. You have to disrupt him. You have to go out there and destroy him. There's an opportunity, I think, if you dial it back and go after Tom Brady, you can almost knock him out of the game.
I think you make a great point there. And I think Wade Phillips...
That should be the goal, really, in the end.
Exactly. By the time this is all said and done, Wade Phillips is going to be the key whether the Patriots win or whether the Rams win. Because like you said, in the Super Bowls that the Patriots have lost, they have gone up against defensive lines that have put so much pressure on Tom Brady. You look at the Giants both times. You look at the Eagles last year. Those defensive lines were generally in the top 5 of the league. So if you can dial up enough pressure to move that pocket and collapse it around Tom Brady, he's not as effective because you're right. It is 3-step drop and ball is out.
Ball's out.
3-step drop, ball is out. And it's either going across the middle to Gronk, or it's going to Edelman along the side, or it's a bubble screen to James White, or you're handing the ball off to Sony Michel.
Which is crazy. In the AFC title game, Brady was clean.
Mm-hmm.
Dude was not touched, and he was able to handle his business. It's really fascinating. And would you be then surprised if a guy like Chris Hogan for the Patriots, an unsung hero, will get like 2 touchdowns? Because obviously...
That's how they always do it,
Yeah,
though.
what the Patriots are able to do is you kind of have a working thing of like, okay, we know that they're going to obviously focus on Gronk. They got to focus on Edelman. Okay, good. We got third option. We got Hogan. He'll get all the touch and all the love and be like, okay, you know what? He'll get 2 touchdowns and he'll be an unsung hero. Or a guy like you said, James White, Sony Michel. They got a lot of opportunities to have other people shine. I think that's one thing that the Patriots do that a lot of other teams just can't do. Like the Detroit Lions. Do you ever see a scenario where in the NFC title game, Zach Zenner blows up and is an unsung hero? No, that's the part that's so freaky with the Detroit Lions when you start comparing is that for the Lions to win, you have to basically have Stafford have a massive game, you have to have Galladay have a massive game, and Kerryon Johnson has to go off for 100 yards. Other than that happening, the Lions are going to lose.
Right.
You know, unless when's the last time we saw Darius Slay have like 2 interceptions and just dominate a game where you don't even throw the ball to his side of the field? They still test Darius Slay all the time. When's the last time an unsung hero for the Lions came through in a clutch moment? Whereas with the Patriots, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Hogan has a massive day. I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Van Noy does some things or other defenders come in and make some plays and cause some key turnovers. I wouldn't be surprised at all. That's just what they do.
The thing about the Patriots, and this all stems from Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick will take away your greatest ability to beat him. And he says, you know what? I'm going to take all that away. Find another way. Find something else. And then Belichick, when he games plans offensively, he's like, okay, cool. So you're going to lock down Gronk? Check. You're going to lock down Edelman? Check. You're going to lock down Sony Michel? Check. Guess what? I've got
option D and E are going to work just fine too.
I've got spare parts.
Exactly.
Spare parts work just fine, and let me force feed them the ball. It's crazy the way the Patriots have been able to handle, and this is a dynasty, handle this dynasty with pieces constantly moving in and out. It's like they interchange guys. What they have built in New England is absolutely crazy, and I think they're trying to do that here in Detroit just to kind of spin it a little bit local. I don't know if it's going to work, though. What New England has done they have their steadying force, which is Tom Brady. Okay, he's at the head of the food chain there, and he sits right underneath Bill Belichick. It's 1A and 1B, and that's how it goes. Everybody else on that team can be replaced, and I think everybody else on that team knows they can be replaced, and they replace them. They replace them a year early all the time.
Yeah, the ability to win 4 or 5 different ways is unbelievable, and they can make adjustments in game. They can beat you a lot of different ways. I wouldn't be surprised if Sony Michel gets a couple touchdowns and has a better performance than the Rams running backs.
Think about this. A guy like Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman in college was a quarterback. I think he played at Toledo. Was a quarterback for a MAC school. Goes to the NFL. When he gets to the NFL, they're like, hey, you're going to play special teams. He was like, okay, cool. From special teams, they're like, hey, we need a defensive back. Can you play DB? He was like, sure. Why not? Plays defensive back. And then they're like, hey, we're down a wide receiver. Can you catch some balls? And he was like, yeah, I think so. Next thing you know, he's Tom Brady's best friend. He's their number one wide receiver, and he's been their number one wide receiver for a very long time, guys. Just go back and look at it. He's the guy who's been making big play after big play. Whenever Tom Brady needed something huge, it was usually to Edelman. This is a guy who went from being a quarterback at a MAC school to then being a special teamer, to being a defensive player, to being a wide receiver. It doesn't matter what you are. It matters what you do. And it's the way the Patriots roll. It's insane.
I want to ask you this. Obviously, locally with the Detroit Lions, people are kind of now looking at 2 players that are involved in the Super Bowl, one of them in which is going to win a championship. You got Ndamukong Suh with the Rams, and you got Kyle Van Noy with the Patriots. And early on in Bob Quinn's tenure, he just basically made a trade, and he traded with the Patriots because the narrative was that Kyle Van Noy did not fit the Detroit Lions' defensive scheme. The Patriots, they take Kyle Van Noy, and he's productive. He's a guy that's producing for the Patriots, and he's going to probably have some kind of impact and probably will be somebody that's going to be called upon to make plays. And then you got on the other side Ndamukong Suh, who was like, you know what, their offer, I think it came out, and he said that, you know what, they didn't really make the best offer for me to want to stay, and it was them. He said, look, it really wasn't me. It was that I didn't feel like the offer was fair, and Miami made the big boy offer, and he went there. But for me, I think I can't root for Ndamukong Suh to be successful. Even though I'm a big Rams guy, I like what the Rams do. I like Sean McVay. I would rather have it, in my opinion, I'd rather root for a guy like Kyle Van Noy, who kind of got a raw deal early on here in Detroit. I think his time with the Patriots rejuvenated his career. He makes plays, and this is a guy that I think in a scenario in which you look at the Detroit Lions, one of the struggles that they have is, I think when you see talent, if you were willing to trade him to the Patriots, and the Patriots are inquiring or you offer him, then you look at it and you say, why can't he fit with us? If the Patriots call you and say, we want this guy, you entertain the offer, and then you go, you know what? If the Patriots are looking at the film, that indicates that maybe there's something there. Why don't we? And I think hopefully maybe with Bevel and this new regime with the Lions, you have to take the talent that you have and fit it to the scheme. I think that maybe with what the Lions are trying to do is that they have this program, they have the scheme, and if a player doesn't fit, then it's just a mismatch, and then that's it. That's a wrap. They're moved on. You just have to be able to take what you have and make it work, and the Lions have not been successful enough to do that. Why can't the Lions get something out of Kyle Van Noy other than moving him for nothing for, I think, a 7th rounder, a guy that got cut?
Right.
No contribution from a guy like Kyle Van Noy, who I think could have brought you something.
Kyle Van Noy is an interesting case because the moment he got put on that New England Patriots defense, he was making plays all over the field. He was blowing guys up, intercepting balls, making big stops on 3rd down. It was crazy what that trade did for his career.
Yeah.
And not just his career, how impactful he was on that New England defense. For some reason, it just didn't fit here. It just didn't click. It could have been a scheme thing. It could have been just the way sometimes
Detroit Lions, it just didn't click.
Right. But sometimes you go to a different place, right?
When's it going to click?
Look at it this way, right? You know how you could talk to a girl and you're like, all right, cool, we're dating. We've been together for like 2-3 years. And you just kind of know that she really isn't the one, but she's here. She's a good time. Her blowy's cool. She gives you a nice little handy now and then. And she cooks a good meal, right? And you're just like, all right, this is fine. I'll deal with it for now, whatever. And then one day you could just be, I don't know, walking in the grocery store. You accidentally bump carts with some other chick. Next thing you know, chemistry's off the chain. It just, for some reason, it just clicked, right? You bumped into this girl down the spice aisle. She was reaching for a jar of oregano, and you were grabbing chili powder. Next thing you know, you're all up in her mouth, and she's like, spank me on the butt, and you're like, I really like this stuff. Let's do it some more. Do you know what I'm saying? It just, sometimes things happen. Sometimes things just click with other people. And this just seems to be what happened with Kyle Van Noy. He got put in a spot where things just seemed to click for him. They took what he did, and they utilized it to its fullest potential.
Well, I'll trump your metaphor and say that what the Detroit Lions are is you're in the grocery store, you find that girl, you reach down, and it's not a girl. That's the Detroit Lions, in essence. You know, you're like, yes, it's going to click. It's great. And you're like, what's that? What's that poking me in the side?
But hold on. Does the Detroit Lions have nice boobs? You can kind of work around some of that, maybe.
Oh,
maybe.
God, you sound like a season ticket holder. Well,
right.
It's a guy. Whatever. Whatever. You're like, I'll take it.
If they got a cute face and they're cool, they like to watch sports, right?
It's 2019. It's something. It's something. That's the way it is. I did trump you there.
Oh, metaphor time.
Metaphor champ. DOC.
Oh man, that's great. Anytime you can work a tranny into a sports conversation, I love it. I love it so much.
Do you think the Lions are regretting Ndamukong Suh in his situation? Because obviously that's a guy that went to Miami, didn't really do a whole heck of a lot. And it's not really, I mean, what he's done though, in terms of his impact with the Rams, is giving Aaron Donald more room to operate. And I think what would have been a terrible situation with the Lions is there's never the other guy. It's like Ndamukong Suh and nobody else. That's the problem. There's no complementary parts.
Do you know what sucks? Is you could have had both those guys, and it could have worked out. I mean, it could have. Look, Ndamukong Suh wanted a boatload of money, and I think, especially at the time, we both agreed that it was not worth it to pay this guy this much money. And I still feel that way today. I don't necessarily regret that he left. I think he had a foot out the door. And in a couple different articles that have been posted, and Dave Burkett did a real nice job covering some of this, he basically said, I liked my time in Detroit. I wanted to stay in Detroit. I wanted to be there. It just came down to dollars and cents and opportunities. And Miami was a better opportunity. The contract he got from Miami was ridiculous. Absolutely insane. It was so bad that a year after he signed it, Miami said, you know what? We're good. We're going to release you. That's crazy. If he was here in Detroit, you have to remember at the time, this is just before Matt Stafford signed his contract that was massive. So the Detroit Lions are looking at signing Matt Stafford. You still have Calvin Johnson, who you're paying a boatload of money to. And now Ndamukong Suh is coming up. You can't have three players that are in the top five of their position as far as pay goes. You just can't afford it. There's a cap. You just can't do it, and you can't build around those guys. I don't necessarily have a problem with them letting him go. I think if there was one guy out of those three, looking back on it with hindsight, because I think you could have built a nasty defense around Ndamukong Suh, especially if you went out and you grabbed Aaron Donald. You should have let Calvin Johnson go, or you should have looked to trade Calvin Johnson.
You kept Suh?
Yes. Because look at who's here now, right? And again, this is hindsight. Hindsight's 2020. Look who's here now. You could have had your offensive captain, Matt Stafford. You could have had your defensive captain, Ndamukong Suh, paired with a guy who is one of the most impactful defensive tackles in the league in Aaron Donald, just causing a ruckus in the middle of that D. And do you remember how good Ziggy Ansah was when Ndamukong Suh was here? Ziggy Ansah had some of the best years of his career when Ndamukong Suh was clogging up the middle, because you have to double team him. You have to account for him. Like you said, his biggest factor on this Los Angeles Rams defense, and more specifically this defensive line, is that he requires other guys to pay attention to him so Aaron Donald can be as explosive and elusive and get to the quarterback and cause havoc. And that's all these guys do, is cause havoc. So it's going to be interesting, circling this back around to the Patriots, it's going to be interesting to see if those two guys up front can do enough, either in the middle or if they line them up outside, because Wade Phillips does a really good job throwing multiple fronts at you. If they do a good enough job collapsing that pocket and putting pressure on Tom Brady, and that's why it will all come down to what Wade Phillips can dial up for this Super Bowl.
Obviously, when it's Super Bowl week, people definitely look to the comments that are made by players. They look at all the hype surrounding it. You just hope that your players on both squads don't make a fool of themselves. Last time they were in Atlanta, it was a little bit of a shit show. Obviously with the strip clubs, the parties, stuff like that. An NFL Hall of Famer got charged and acquitted.
Hey, you know Ray Lewis killed a man, right?
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I love Ray Lewis, by the way.
And so when you have this pomp and circumstance, you just hope that players don't say things. Well, someone from the Rams started to and discussed and started to kind of spout off a little bit. What was your takeaway with Roby Coleman and his comments regarding Tom Brady and discussing the fact that Tom Brady's a little bit older, his skills a little bit diminished, and things like that? Now, some people will minimize it and say, look, people are going to spout off during Super Bowl week because you're asked a million questions. Every single media source is out there, from legitimate media to NFL media who covers it every single day. Well, he comes out and basically says something that I think the Patriots can use as bulletin board material, and I find it very fascinating that he was willing to say it. He did now on Tuesday scale it back a little bit and said that Tom Brady is the GOAT. He's a legend, obviously with 5 rings. But I just think in that situation, the first rule of thumb from Sean McVay should have been, look, don't discuss the Patriots in any other manner than complimentary. Period. They're the greatest. They're the legends. We got to go out there and do our job. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, you're pointing at film saying, look, this dude's motherfucking slow, and you can get to him. And that's what should have been the approach. And I think it is a little bit of a rookie mistake for Sean McVay to have this happen because, look, the Patriots, they don't need to have bulletin board material. They're the GOAT. They're the greatest. But I do think that when I think part of the reason why they've had success this year is they're utilizing this us versus the world mentality again. And obviously when Tom Brady, which was awesome, a true leader, when he comes out to the media through an interview after a game, comes out and says, oh, everybody thinks we suck. Everybody thinks that. He is not talking to the nation. He's talking to his team. And that's what a leader does. And I think what Roby Coleman said will be used as bulletin board material to hype up the Patriots. And I just think that it's going to be to a disadvantage for the Rams.
I mean, has this guy been asleep for the last 18 years or so?
Exactly.
I mean, we have a dynasty in the mix right here. The last 18 years, dude. What are you doing? Shut the hell up. Like, how are you going to go poke the bear? And by the bear, I mean the GOAT. How are you going to go poke the GOAT? Why? Why would you do that? Shut the hell up, man.
Exactly.
This dude, did you not watch the game that got them here? Did you not watch how he dissected Kansas City? The guy looked like a surgeon out there. Meticulous. Just picking apart a defense. And you want to go and you want to talk crap? Especially you, Mr. Roby Coleman, you, the guy who didn't even make a play on a ball but blew a dude up and got lucky that he didn't get flagged. Because if you'd have got flagged, I'm telling you right now, the Saints would be playing the Pats. It wouldn't be you guys. So you have the audacity to open your mouth? Shut it. Shut it. I want to see. Dude, I really really do hope that New England comes out and they throw their first 3 times with the ball, and all 3 are right at him. Just throw at him. Throw at him. And honestly, it'll probably be Edelman who he'll be covering, and just have Edelman pick him apart. Just pick him apart all the way down the field. And I just hope Edelman just talks so much smack to him.
But let's look at it from this perspective. Okay, everybody that reacted negatively to it was saying, well, look, the Patriots are a super team and things like that. But you got to remember, the last Super Bowl, they were defeated by the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. They came in with some bravado, and they came in with some shit talking as well. And I think that if you have confidence...
Go at Tom Brady.
No, you don't go at Tom Brady.
Right.
But I think that from that perspective, I would not have walked it back. I would have said, you know what? I believe in my Rams team. I believe in Jared Goff. I believe in Sean McVay. Let's go mano-a-mano. And if they come out on top, so be it. And I like that part of it. But I just think that at the same time, Tom Brady utilizes it so well that you're taking the greatest quarterback, an elite talent, and giving him more motivation. I just think that it might just be the tipping point that puts the Patriots over the edge. That's, if he had not said it, I think we would be talking about something different. I think now one of the big storylines is going to be Tom Brady. He might have a 5-touchdown game. Wade Phillips is going to try his absolute best, but I just think that the way the Patriots are rolling right now, they're going to have everything in rhythm. And if they get off to a great start, a couple touchdowns early, you could be looking at Tom Brady going, you know what? I'm going to go off on 5-6 touchdowns and destroy the LA Rams if they're not able to handle the pressure. But on the other token, I don't blame Roby Coleman for doing it because you know what? You throw the dart out there. You say, look, we're going to come at you. We're going to try to make you look like a fool. And I just would not have walked it back. I would have kept going with it. I would have been like, look, I would have said some more stuff. And I would have just kept it going and keep poking the bear. If you believe it, then, walk the walk.
Poking the goat. And real quick,
Why not?
Update: the polar vortex is claiming people. Detroit Free Press just released something. A 70-year-old man was found dead, frozen to death outside of his house at 8 a.m. this morning. The Detroit News corroborated this and said he was not dressed for the weather. So this is going to be really tasteless, and I'm okay with that. Social Darwinism. Don't be a dummy. Dress for the conditions, people. Be smarter. Now, back to Roby Coleman.
Yeah.
Don't cut that out either.
No.
Don't cut any of that out. Back to Roby Coleman. You're right. If you're going to walk it and you're going to talk it, then walk it and talk it.
Exactly.
Don't pull it back. Don't. Like, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. Don't ever apologize for the way you feel.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing? If that's what you think. If that's what you really, really think, then go out there and prove it. Talk all the shit you want, but go out there and you better be able to back it all up. And especially against a guy like Tom Brady, who doesn't need bulletin board material. The guy motivates himself, right? But that's cool. You just gave him an extra bullet in the chamber.
All right, Adam, lay it out there. What do you think's going to happen? Who takes down the big game this Sunday?
So the way I see this working out, right? Because pretty much every Super Bowl has been a close game. They're always close. You win 13 games, you win 11 games, you win 10 games, however many games you win. There's a reason you won that many games. You're a good team. You're here for a reason. These are two of the best teams in the league right now. I still think the edge has to go to the Patriots. You've got Tom Brady as your quarterback. You've got Bill Belichick as your head coach. We've already talked about how Bill Belichick's a chameleon. He will do whatever it takes to put his guys in a spot to win this game. On top of all that, Wade Phillips. Talked about him being the key here. I think Wade Phillips is a great defensive coordinator. Wade Phillips usually, we've talked about this with the Rams when they played the Lions. Go back, find that podcast, listen. What the Rams like to do, or what Wade Phillips likes to do with his defensive fronts, is he likes to have two guys on the edge that can get to the quarterback. Remember when he was with Denver when they won the Super Bowl? He had two guys on the edge, Von Miller, that could just get to the quarterback and put that pressure. He's now having to change things up and do it with defensive tackles. And yeah, those defensive tackles are athletic enough to where they can play on the outside, but I don't think there's enough on that defensive front for Wade Phillips to get the kind of pressure that he needs to get to force Tom Brady to make huge mistakes and turn the ball over. Factor in the fact that Roby Coleman has diarrhea of the mouth, and I don't think that plays a huge factor in any of this, but I just think it's a little bit more motivation for the New England Patriots, and I think it's enough to put them over the top. I see the Patriots winning this game 28-24.
28-24. Yeah, I think the Patriots win it. I think it's going to be a great game, but at the same time, I do think that maybe Jared Goff has a chance with the ball late to take it down, and I think Sean McVay definitely is a guy that's a growing superstar.
Coach, man.
Great coach. And I think
he's a good-looking dude.
Exactly. And I think that there's a scenario in which maybe he could dial up some things that are a little bit creative too at the same time that can really help the Rams out. I think it's a great matchup, and I think that it's going to be very impressive. And you know what? What do you make of all the early betting going on the Patriots? I mean, the Rams opened up as a favorite, and then all the big sharks, all the big gamblers are betting on the Patriots. If the Patriots win, a lot of people are going to make a lot of money. But part of me just goes, man, when people do that, I don't know, part of me just thinks that the Rams' firepower, if they get going, they can handle their business and they can't be stopped.
Do you think a lot of it, though, hinges on Todd Gurley and whether or not Todd Gurley is going to play? I mean, right now, we're all assuming he's going to play. We're all assuming he's going to start, but there's no guarantees. I think we both thought he was going to start in the game against the Saints, and he carried the ball, 4 or 5 times? I mean, he hardly touched the ball that game. So I think a lot of it hinges on whether or not Todd Gurley is 100%, and we won't know that until after this game. They won't let us know. They won't tell. I mean, he can be questionable, but nobody knows what questionable means. He can be probable. What does probable mean? Nobody knows. We're assuming that he's going to come into this game, he will be healthy, but you also have to look back and see how he has performed the last couple weeks, and it's not been the same Todd Gurley. It really hasn't. So I think a lot falls at his feet, and I think that's why a lot of the sharks and the smart bettors are like, okay, cool, we're going to put money on the Patriots because they don't believe that he's going to be 100% healthy. I think that's kind of where it's at right now.
Did you hear WWE is counter-programming the halftime show?
I did.
That's going to be awesome. A match I think I'm going to turn away. Usually I do watch the halftime, but I'm going to watch the match.
It's going to be an awesome match too. It's going to be a 6-man tag. Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Velveteen Dream, Ricochet.
On all the WWE platforms.
Adam Cole, baby.
I think it's going to be good.
There.
I think it's good.
So it should be a really good match.
6:30 Sunday. Great game. I can't wait for it. And
do you like how WWE called out Maroon 5?
I liked it.
Like
that was
by
great.
name.
That
like
was great.
By name.
That was great.
It's crazy.
All right, time for our first time out. We'll come back, and then in the second half of the podcast, we got to talk about it. A growing situation with Pistons ownership and the Detroit Red Wings. With the Pistons ownership, it's really interesting in that you got this Pistons owner with a reputation that I think is really negative, and we got to talk about it. And with the Red Wings, I think there's some talk regarding what's going to happen at the trade deadline, and I don't think you and I are really thrilled with what we've been hearing. Stay tuned for all of that in the second half of the podcast. You're listening to Doc and Jock on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Adam, I want to tell you about one of the great sponsors of the network, the Motor City Pawn Brokers. The Motor City Pawn Brokers are a one-stop pawn shop when you're in need of short-term cash or are looking for quality, brand name new, and pre-owned merchandise with locations in Detroit, Ferndale, Roseville, and Warren. Their mission is to deliver exceptional value. Go check out Motor City Pawn Brokers for all information regarding the pawn shop. Because Tom Gores was in the building on Tuesday, and he got a chance to check in a real team, the Milwaukee Bucks, as they handled the Detroit Pistons. And you saw basically Blake Griffin and a bunch of misfits go out there to try to play basketball. And it's always news whenever the owner of the Pistons shows up because it's so infrequent. And it's really fascinating because when you look at Twitter and you look at some reactions to it, I think Tom Gores has a reputation right now that's not good. And I don't understand, either he's not self-aware or doesn't care or is so rich and out of touch that he's like, whatever, whoever's here at the LCA, a place where I rent out, then I'm just going to throw T-shirts and just show up and, do what I do. I don't get that kind of behavior because here's kind of the way I'm looking at it with Tom Gores. And I'll extend it out to ownership really across the state of Michigan regarding the struggles of the pro teams. When you own an entity, and I understand the take that some people will say, look, you have to put people in the right position to do their job and then step away. But if you look at Chris Ilitch, you look at Martha Ford, and you look at Tom Gores, probably a collection of owners that's probably the worst in the entire nation. And why? You go, what's going on with Martha Ford? What's going on with Chris Ilitch? What's going on with Tom Gores? Here's the biggest thing that's the problem, being that I own multiple businesses and I got my hands in a lot of things. If you're an owner of something and you truly are passionate about it, you don't put someone else in charge of it. Because nobody loves it as much as you do. Nobody will love it as much as you do. Nobody will care about it, will pay attention as much as you. If you're going to put a bunch of money down, whether it be $50 or $300 million, you got to be there. You got to be on top of things. But what Tom Gores does is goes out to Beverly Hills. He puts his people in charge and is like, well, we're not winning enough. Well, I want Blake Griffin. I want a superstar. Okay. Well, eventually the record has come and people are looking at what you've done as an owner, and it's been god-awful. You're a T-shirt time guy. You're a guy that people are joking around being an addict. And whether it's true or not, you got to squash that right away. You got to show up with your, suit on. You got to show up and be professional. I put out a video on Twitter regarding Sopranos on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, where there's a scene where after Tony Soprano had a barbecue and he's wearing shorts, there's a formal scene and a guy walks up to him and goes, look, Tony, a Don doesn't wear shorts. And he walked away. And what that meant was, in that scene, is Tom Gores is not a Don, but what he is an owner of an NBA franchise. He's a boss.
He's the head.
The boss should not be throwing T-shirts into the crowd.
Right.
The boss should be signing the checks, and the boss should be lighting everybody's ass on fire because you got a team that's under 500 with Blake Griffin, and 3 guys are getting paid a lot of money. Reggie Jackson, Andre Drummond, and Blake Griffin are a bust, and you look at it and you go, the Pistons are headed into a complete nosedive, and it's completely embarrassing the way this is going down. Tom Gores needs to be fixing this problem, and what he's talking about in all his talks are getting to the playoffs. I think there's a huge
Trading
disconnect.
away commodities to get guys in here.
No.
What the hell are you talking about?
You're talking about getting to the playoffs, which you haven't done, and everyone else is talking about building for a championship. Right. There's the disconnect. And as a result of that disconnect, you're doing one thing, the fans want something else. Well, guess what the fans are doing? They're not showing up to your building, as you are now, the Pistons, the lowest rated and attended NBA franchise. Nobody's going to these games. And it's embarrassing that the owner is throwing out T-shirts in a time when you should be really looking to blow it up. You should be like pissed off. I don't like the way he addresses the media. I don't like his bravado. I don't like the way he gets down. And it really is indicative of what's going on with that franchise. There's complete disconnect between reality and what this guy's trying to do. This guy said that he might be willing to take on and go into the luxury tax and completely build around Blake Griffin. Okay, let's say you want to go down that road and you want to build around Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin's now 30. It's going to take you a year or two to even bring around talent and gel. You don't just throw a team together because Blake Griffin's not LeBron. You don't just throw a team together and boom, they're going to make their way to the NBA Finals. No, he'll be 32 when this happens. And likely, this season, Blake's great. But in the next 2 years, you think he's going to hold up? No. And so that's why I think
the big issue with him is career.
The big disconnect is the fans want this blown up. Period. They want this blown up. They're embarrassed of what's going on. And Tom Gores is out here throwing T-shirts, which is laughing stock. Especially in the timing, too. He's throwing T-shirts when they're down 17 in the fourth quarter. Dude, do it in the beginning of the game.
What you're getting at is there's a certain way to conduct yourself, especially when you're an owner, right? You're not Mark Cuban. You don't have the cachet that a guy like Mark Cuban has. Mark Cuban can sit courtside and can hobnob with whoever, can act a fool, can go onto the floor and damn near harpoon a referee. Why? Because it's Mark Cuban. You know how many championships Mark Cuban has won? One more than you, okay? You've won nothing. You've done nothing. You've not put together a team that's really worth a damn. Cool, you went out, you grabbed Blake. And you remember when Blake was brought here? Remember what the big issue with all of us were? It wasn't just the fact that his contract is astronomical. It's the fact that you have a player who would have been great 10, maybe 15 years ago in Andre Drummond. You're going to pair Blake Griffin with Andre Drummond. How does this make good basketball sense? It didn't then. It doesn't now. So what are you going to do? You want to go and you want to build around Blake. That's fine. Some point, you're going to have to unload Andre then. You can't keep them both. It's been shown that it's not working. It really isn't working. You've got Reggie Jackson here, who is a clown show. Doesn't bring really anything to this team. And yeah, I know it's after night where he just went off. Okay, cool. He went off one time in 10 games? Like what are we talking about here? He seems like he's a locker room cancer. It's part of the reason why he got traded here. Because him and Russell Westbrook didn't get along because Jackson thought he was a better player, which let that sink in and kind of show you where his decision-making is. This team's a mess. Team's a disaster. Your owner's a hot mess. Like, he doesn't even try to hide it. You're right. It's T-shirt time, baby. T-shirt time. Down 17. What are you doing? Sit down. Shut up. You're never here. You don't know what the hell goes on. I believe good owners, the one thing that they do is they recognize people with talent, and they put those people in positions to better the organization. All that being done, you sit in the background, and you're heavy-handed when it comes time to be heavy-handed. And when it's time to be light-handed, you're light-handed, allowing your people that you put in position to do their jobs, right? You had Stan Van Gundy here. Stan Van Gundy screwed a lot of things up. He messed up a bunch of stuff, okay? We can all agree to that. But Stan, I don't think, wanted Blake. I don't think Stan said we have to go get Blake Griffin. There were interviews with Stan Van Gundy before Blake came here where he said, I just don't see how it's feasible. I don't see how it's possible because of the cap structure. We're going to hurt ourselves for the long term. And sure as shit, they went out, traded for Blake, and what they do? They hurt themselves for the long run. Why? Because Tom Gores wanted Blake Griffin here. You had an owner who now meddled with the people that he put in charge, the people he deemed fit to run this organization when he is in Beverly Hills, when he is hobnobbing, when he is not here because he's asleep at the wheel. You can't do that. You can't have it both ways. Either you're in or you're out. Either you're there all the time helping things work or you're not. And what you do is you show up, you have a private suite up at the top. Don't sit courtside. Don't do it. Sit up at the top. And if you want to get all liquored up, you want to get drunk, you want to do blow off a hooker's ass, I don't care. Do it up in the upper deck in a private suite where they can't put the Fox Sports cam on you and see you blowing rails off some slut's butt. All right? Like, come on, man. Get it together. Get it together. Because right now, you are the epitome of what this organization is. And that's messy. Very, very messy. And more to the point of what you said with your Twitter gift or your Twitter post, you're right. Dons don't wear shorts. There's a proper way to dress. There's a proper etiquette to being an owner. Figure it out, dude, because you are looking sloppy, very, very sloppy on these sidelines, and that spills over into your organization.
And that's just one point, his demeanor. The other part is what he's doing with the team. He is really trying to build around Blake Griffin. That's what he's doing. And it doesn't make any sense because that's what you've been doing, is you got a guy that can perform and you're going to try and go around and build it with the 18th pick. That hasn't been successful. We've seen what that looks like.
You're in purgatory right now.
Yeah.
As a basketball organization, you have been in purgatory for 10, 15 years. Good enough to sometimes slip into the playoffs just to be drilled by a first or second place team, or be so high in the draft where you're missing out on high caliber talent because you're just missing the playoffs. There's no way for you to get out of this vicious cycle unless you tank or unless you have one of your star players, in this case Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, both break a leg at the same exact time. I mean, you look at what the San Antonio Spurs did. Do you know how they got Tim Duncan? Forever with David Robinson, they were crushing the league. They were always in the playoffs, always killing it. David Robinson got hurt. And you know what the Spurs said? Spurs said, all right, cool, bet. Our best player, our guy who we have built our franchise around, just got hurt. It's cool. We're going to suck real bad this year. And watch what happens. They grabbed the big fundamental. So now you got the Admiral and you got the big fundamental. And guess what? Your organization didn't skip a beat. San Antonio Spurs didn't skip a beat. They went from having David Robinson, who was a stud, to being hurt 1 year to then getting Tim Duncan. And when David Robinson went away, guess what? Tim Duncan just carried it on. That next guy was supposed to be Kawhi. Kawhi got pissed off and said, I want it out. But you see how organizations position themselves. Good organizations position themselves to be able to have 2 elite players, sometimes 3 elite players, and to be able to carry on and build these dynasties and these teams that are competitive every single week. Blake Griffin is not one of those guys.
So
he's
similar
too old.
To a lot
he's
of
too broken down.
Yeah, so similar to what a lot of people are saying, thumbs down on the acquisition of Blake Griffin because it set back your rebuild. In essence, you've set back the rebuild for another 4 years.
Yeah, no, that's accurate.
You've built to get to the playoffs.
That's
in
accurate.
essence. And exactly that's, I think, now another part of the disconnect is nobody cares if you get to the playoffs and win a round or two. Nobody wants that. You have to sell us on you're building to win a championship. And what Tom Gores is selling is we're building to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Hey, well, if you get in, then we have a chance. Well, you don't have a chance.
You don't.
You just saw Milwaukee pimp slap you. You just see Toronto. They're on their way up. You got the Sixers and the Celtics who are in an arms race. What are you doing? You're building for the playoffs? I think that's the source of the anger, is if you build for the playoffs, you're pissing off your fans because it's 2019. And fans, podcasters, shows, reporters, everybody that looks at what you're doing, paying customers, they want you to build in the hopes that you're trying to win it all. I don't think we do this podcast in the hopes of being last place. We hope to, get good guests. We hope to have great gear. We hope to have great audio. And I think that, if we just said, you know what? We do a podcast and we're building to just get a show up on the air. I'll be like, that'd be terrible. Mm-hmm. No, what we do is we do a good show and we go, what did we like about it? What did I not like about it? You critique it. You go, oh man, we had this and, we should maybe do that. We should try this. We can maybe get this support. Maybe we can, you've looked at the last 3 years. We've added like 9 different features. We add a daily little 2 minutes clip now where we just give a take and have it sponsored. We keep doing new things to add content. Before we didn't do video. Now we do video. So you have to keep evolving in the hopes of doing the best content that you can. Now we just don't say, you know what, let's just turn on our phone and go outside and broadcast something and just put it up there. And nobody can hear it.
Yeah, that doesn't work that way.
You don't strive for mediocrity. And I think that's where the big disconnect is between the Pistons and the fan base. That obviously has turned them off. Last place in the NBA attendance. Now, I want to ask you this. In terms of the Pistons and Red Wings, we seem to kind of have a little bit of a clue as to what may happen. What would make you more frustrated if the Pistons were buyers at the deadline, or if we start to believe the reports that are coming out of LCA in regards to the Red Wings, they may stand pat at the trade deadline when they have assets like Jimmy Howard, Nyquist, Mike Green. They may actually decide against making any moves in the hopes of making the playoffs. And I think when I read that in the papers, I was absolutely shocked. I was like, what? And it's obviously a situation where Chris Ilitch is definitely putting all his faith in Ken Holland and his ability to run the team, which is really fascinating in that if he's on his way out and Steve Yzerman's on his way in, how are you letting Ken Holland make these decisions? And I think that for me, I'd be more pissed if the Detroit Pistons added at the deadline and gave up a first-round pick to get another complimentary piece to get to the playoffs. But at the same time, I'm frustrated with the Red Wings because, to be honest, up until this point, I've watched a period of hockey the entire year. And it hasn't been that great. It hasn't been really news and noteworthy. There hasn't been too many things that have been noteworthy to talk about. I think we've done 2 segments in the entire season on the Red Wings. And if you decide to continue this, I mean, I think people are pretty much satisfied with the Wings because, you know what, we're on the path to lose for Hughes. But at the same time, I look at it and I go, if you don't continue to acquire assets and you have some in a season when you probably aren't that good and won't win a round, I think the move for the Red Wings needs to be sell off your assets, get some more picks that you can use in the rebuild that will hopefully come to fruition in the next 2 or 3 years when some of your young cats evolve.
You've got the likes of Jimmy Howard, Gustav Nyquist, Thomas Vanek, right? These are all guys who are on expiring deals. These are all guys who are going to be free agents next year. The fact that you keep those guys is a huge red flag. You've seen what Ken Holland was able to do last year when he traded Thomas Tatar. I mean, that was a blockbuster trade. It was crazy what you got back in return. You need that. It's all about getting young guys up here and putting young guys in spots. Now, as far as the Pistons go, it makes absolutely zero sense to trade for anybody. We just broke it down. You're in purgatory right now. Why the hell are you going to go out? Why are you going to go trade for somebody to put on this roster so you can get into the playoffs just so you can get jail sexed? Makes no sense. Neither one of these teams doing either one of those moves makes any sense for the organization. It doesn't help you out. Thomas Vanek came here and joined the Red Wings and signed a 1-year deal. And the moment he signed that deal, we looked at each other and we were like, yeah, that's a good deal. You know why it's a good deal? It's great for the organization. It's good for Thomas Vanek. He gets to come in, he can put some points up. He can be a second-line guy, maybe a stud third-liner. He's going to make $3 million this year. But you know what? When the trade deadline comes around and he's performing, you trade his ass away. And you know what you get? You get something in return. Either you get a young prospect or you get draft picks. In the new NHL, draft picks are gold. They are gold. Especially when you're losing so bad, you can get up into the top 5. You're right, lose for Hughes is great. But if you can't get that first overall selection, you want to be in the top 5. You've seen what happened last year. Last year, we were bemoaning where they ended up finishing because they went on the hot little streak towards the end there, and we were upset about it, right? But you look at what you were able to get. You got a guy in your minors right now who maybe next year, if not later on this year, should come up and light the world on fire. On top of all that, you got another guy who looks like he could be a solid second or third line center for you and really help balance out your team. You need those draft picks. You need to lose. You need to trade these guys away. By you staying pat, if you're the Detroit Red Wings, that's a huge mistake. Huge. You're not winning this year. You're not winning. There's been a lot of conversation about keeping Jimmy Howard or bringing Jimmy Howard back. I get it because you don't have a goaltender and you feel comfortable with Jimmy Howard. Like that next great goaltender is not in the minor league system right now. He's not there. There's nobody. Like you don't have anybody. So I get that, right? You want to bring him back. He's a solid deal, whatever. That's cool. But you know what? Trade him. Trade him and then re-sign him. There's no big deal and there's no issue with you trading him and then re-signing him. It works better for everybody. You trade him away, you get stuff in return, and then you can go out and bring him back if you want. Definitely not at $5.3 million like he's earning right now, but you go out and you can bring him back later. There's nothing in the rule book that says you can't do that. Gus Nyquist is a guy who, at this point, he's 30 years old. He's 30. He's no longer considered a kid. You know what you're going to get from him. He's streaky, very streaky. He'll score some pretty goals. He'll set up some pretty plays. He's streaky. Trade him away.
Now let's hear what Tom Gores had to say after his appearance at LCA. whenever he is around and does get to address the Pistons, he does kind of talk about and give insights into what he's thinking about doing with the organization. I think every time he speaks, I don't see favor. I see every time he speaks a lot of criticism in regards to what he's doing. And let's have a listen, courtesy of Rhonda Moss at WDFN 1130 AM.
Look, we got work to do. We're not winning enough. But there's something here that we can build on. And if you look at Andre and Blake together, how do you find those two players together? So we got to work it out, and Dwayne will do it. Like Coach Casey, he will do it. So as much as I'm disappointed how many wins we have, I still think we have good players, and Blake I think has done incredible. And so,
hey Tom, why do you?
9 days before the trade deadline, what are you guys looking to do between now and the trade deadline?
Well, the front office is working on that, and we're always looking to improve, of course, but we don't have any plans. There's nothing there right now for us, but we're always looking to improve. And the fact is, we're not winning enough, so we got to do something. But at the same time, we had some injuries. Ish is not playing tonight. Like, we have a lot of things going on.
One of the things that you've always talked about is not sacrificing the future for a short-term gain. Where are you at with that philosophy you used to say all the time back when you first bought the team?
Well, we don't want to sacrifice the future, and I don't think we have. I mean, I think we do have a lot to work on here, but I don't think we're sacrificing the future. We're not going to do anything that just throws everybody out and this and that. It's just not what we're going to do.
Yeah, but Tom, don't you get the feeling that maybe this mix won't work, and the best case for this team would be, as people like to say, to try to tank, get a bunch of lottery picks, and this season, did you get the feeling that maybe this won't work?
Well, look, I mean, we have to do something, but I'm not really, like, we have a good group of people, so.
Wrong answer. There you go.
Do you, dude?
Exactly. There's the problem. Okay? We have to do something. Well, what's that going to be? Yeah. See, we got to do something. That's not the right answer because you know why? He's not giving the direction. And I know this guy's not a basketball mind and he's putting people in place. That's the problem because he's putting his trust in people that are telling him, this is what they're telling him. They're like, look, Tom, unfortunately, these contracts are god-awful. I know you probably don't want to tank. You don't want to do that, but I think here's what we're going to do. We're going to rebuild in 2 years. We're going to wait until Reggie's off the books. We're going to wait until Langston's off the books. We're going to wait until some of these god-awful contracts, and then we're going to start. So in essence, you're delaying the start of this blow-up for another couple years, whereas what we're saying is, damn, if you had just opened up your eyes and figured out what to do, you could be into year 3 already into the process, and that's why the addition of Blake Griffin, for those that are against it, are saying you've delayed this process because now what you've said is you're paying this guy big money. You're trying to build around him in a situation where if this guy was 26, okay, it's workable. This guy's going to be 32, 33 when the time comes for him to deliver. And that's not going to happen. You're not going to be anywhere near as good as the top teams in the East. And they're building incorrectly. And so that's the case, is that we can argue it all day long. But fact of the matter is, Tom Gores just wants to build for the playoffs. And that's what's going to happen is that he'll parade a successful season when he gets to the playoffs and gets eliminated in round 2. Whereas we're going to be screaming and yelling and going, dude, you should be building for a championship, and you can do that by acquiring picks when you have high draft picks. That's what tanking means. Tanking doesn't mean you root for your team to lose. Tanking means you root for your team to build with talent. I think that's the mistake that people are making that are against tanking. I don't want the Pistons to lose. I want them to win the ultimate prize. This is an avenue for the ultimate prize. The avenue for getting to the playoffs and eliminated, we've seen. The avenue for acquiring talent is lose for a couple years and hope that management picks the right guys and they don't pass on Donovan Mitchell. Or when you do have the opportunity, pick freaking Donovan Mitchell. Don't pick Luke Kennard. But that's past management. That's the past.
Right. It's helping your team or putting your organization in the best spot to succeed.
You know what pisses everybody off is that the talk is SVG loved Donovan Mitchell. He loved him and still took Luke Kennard.
Yeah, why? Why? That doesn't make any sense. Again, you're doing everything. It's all short-sighted. It's how can we get this year's team into the playoffs instead of, hey, let's put some pieces together and let's build towards an organization that can make multiple year runs. It's cool if you just get there 1 year, but that's not success, guys. It really isn't. It's doing it every single year, getting there and being there. I mean, you look at what the old Pistons used to do, right? Look at what that team did. That team made the playoffs every single year. And for a hot minute there, they made the Eastern Conference championship game every single year. You know, you were playing for something. These guys aren't playing for anything right now. They're just out there playing basketball in front of some people. Like, when I say some people, I mean like 10.
All right, guys. Great podcast. Looking forward to the big game this Sunday. Oh, man, the Pistons and Wings. Mismanaged, bad ownership, and this is where we're at. This is part of the reason why there are struggles. Now, before we get out of here, one last yes or no question.
Mm-hmm.
Is Tom Gores the worst owner in sports? Because he's nosediving the Pistons into oblivion.
I think so.
So some people messaged us and said, look, you guys are overreacting. He's not even the worst owner in the city.
I think so, and it's only because he's so out of touch with everything. And
I think probably the move that I think would put him right up there is, how do you take a building that you own and go into another man's building and rent it?
It's true.
It's basically you're playing in a hockey arena, and you're a tenant.
It makes no sense.
And you're treated like that. And especially business-wise, yeah, you get a cut of the revenue. And it probably, business-wise, in the coffers is probably better. But in the end, your fan base that was out in Oakland County is not traveling to LCA.
No.
They're not doing it. So basically, in essence, you're sacrificing maybe the in-game experience for the Pistons for a greater return as a part of a partner with the Red Wings. But, you know, in the end, for the Pistons, it doesn't seem like a good fit.
And there was nothing wrong with the Palace.
That's it.
I mean, it's cool for me because I travel out that way and I get off at that exit right there. So I don't got to deal with any traffic now, which is great, but it was dumb. Like, that was a dumb business move. Made no sense. I don't get it. I do think he is...
He's working his way up there.
I think he is the worst owner.
T-shirt time.
Yeah, he's the worst owner in Detroit. He really is. Worse than Martha. You guys can bitch as much as you want about Martha. She at least comes in and makes moves. You know what I'm saying? Ever since she took over for Mr. Ford, she's out there making moves. Chris Ilitch, give him another year.
Inexperienced.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Another year. But at this moment in time, Tom Gores is the worst.
You can follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. You can leave a voicemail anytime, 24/7, 248-579-8686. See everybody next week for another edition of the Doc and Jock Podcast.
It's not over yet, so you can ask me that one next week.
Go Blue, bitch.
This was locker room talk.
Second dick.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me. They talk to me.